honk the horn.
We ready? Okay. Good evening. I would like to call upon the meeting of the Planning Commission to order at 6:02. Planning Commission Secretary, may we have a roll call vote? A roll call, please.
Certainly. Commissioner Sarno? Commissioner Cervantes?
Here?
Commissioner Flores?
Present.
Vice Chair Ayala? Chair Jimenez?
Here.
3 out of 2, 3 present, so we have a quorum.
Great. I would like to call upon Commissioner Cervantes to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place your hand over your heart. Begin.
Thank you. Ex parte communications. This section is intended to allow all planning commissioners the opportunity to reveal any disclosure regarding site visits or ex parte communications about public hearings. Are there any ex parte communications?
None.
None.
None? Okay.
All right, for the record, I'd like to show that Vice Chair Ayala is here.
Great. Okay, public comments on non-agenda and non-public hearing agenda items. At this time, the general public may address the Planning Commission on both non-agenda and non-public hearing agenda items. Comments relating to public hearing items will be heard during the public hearing. Please be aware that the maximum time allowed for members of the public to speak shall not exceed 3 minutes per speaker. State law prohibits the Planning Commission from taking action or entertaining extended discussion on a topic not listed on the agenda. Please show courtesy to others and direct all of your comments to the chairperson. Planning Commission Secretary, do we have any members of the public present that wish to speak today?
None.
Okay, I will now close public comment and move on to the next item. Consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine. Any consent item a planning commissioner wishes to discuss should be designated at this time. All other items may be approved in a single motion. For consent items number 1, 2, 3, and 4, is there a motion and a second of approval for these items?
All motion? I'll second.
Great. Moved by Vice Chair Ayala, and second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor?
I'll do a roll call.
Oh, roll call vote, okay.
Commissioner Sarno, not here. Commissioner Cervantes?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Aye.
Vice Chair Ayala?
Aye.
Chair Jimenez?
Aye,
Passes 4-0.
so ordered. There's a 14-day appeal period. Anyone wishing to appeal these matters? We will now begin with item number 5 on the agenda. At this time, I will open the public hearing at 6:06. I now call upon planning consultant Kaden Litkins to introduce this item.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Kaden Likens, Contract Assistant Planner with Sagebrush Planning and Environmental. And I'm presenting item number 5, Development Plan Approval, Case Number 1017, and Modification Permit 1375. So on January 12th, 2026, the applicant, Rick Ramirez, today represented by COO of Rex Creamery, Joe, submitted this request for improvements at the existing Rex Creamery facility, addressed 12809 Bush Place. The site is currently zoned M2 heavy manufacturing with an industrial general plan designation. The 3.88 acre site is surrounded by heavy industrial uses and lies south of the South Pacific Railroad, along the city boundary, west of Greenlease Avenue and east of Santa Fe Springs. The item includes a development plan approval, case number 1017, for exterior facility improvements, including installation of new tanks, process equipment, supporting structures, canopies, and associated site infrastructure, as well as foundations for future tanks. The modification permit, case number 1375, is to allow partial screening of the proposed equipment. The proposed project does not violate or affect any of the existing improved entitlements to the site. A little bit of business background on Rex Creamery. Rex is a dairy and cultured food processing facility that partners with brands and private labels to produce a range of products. These products include pasteurized milk, cream, yogurt, customized ice cream, and other dairy alternative products. The company has operated in the region since 2005, being Rex Creamery. Their parent ownership has operated in the region for close to 100 years. Rex Creamery became a tenant of Santa Fe Springs in October of 2025. Daily operations at the site will involve receiving raw milk from an insulated tanker trucks, processing into finished products, and packaging for distribution. Rex Creamery distributes to a number of Santa Fe Springs businesses, including but not limited to the Little Lake School District, Melrose Baking, Maggie's Pub, Fuji Food, and a number of other businesses. Wastewater is generated through equipment rinsing, line flushing, and facility washdowns. The proposal consists of a new wastewater tank and system that will help manage these flows within regulated limits. To go over the development plan approval, the DPA proposes to construct one new cooling tower, a new ammonia diffusion tank, a new glycol tank and system, 6 new storage tanks for the milk that will be coming in, a new tanker canopy, new refrigeration equipment within their existing refrigeration room, and foundational footings for 3 future tanks. So to get into the details, the new cooling tower, shown in red, which is a little bit hard to see, stands at approximately 24 feet tall, and it's adjacent to the existing cooling tower, which is, in its location, will be approximately 33 feet from the northern property line. Adjacent to the east of the new cooling tower is a proposed ammonia diffusion tank that is shown in the dark green. It's directly north, adjacent to the existing building. The ammonia diffusion tank stands at 14 feet tall, and the glycol system and glycol storage tank are just east of the ammonia diffusion, shown in the light blue, in which the glycol tank stands at 12 feet tall and 2 inches. The ammonia tank and glycol system are also proposed at 33 feet from that northern property line. The new building alcove is shown in the hatched purple box. It's proposed to have an angled roof that slopes downward from east to west, the lowest point being 10 feet 7 inches, in which it will get taller as it connects to the main building, getting up to approximately 14 feet tall. The alcove is proposed off the western side of the existing building in the northwest portion of the site, approximately 50 feet from the northern property line and 157 feet from the western property line. What's shown on the screen is kind of an enlarged version of the site plan, so you don't get a full view of those setbacks. But it is approximately 202 feet from the southern property line, which is the public right-of-way of Bush Place. The alcove is approximately 1,677 square feet in size. Surrounding the proposed building alcove are the 6 proposed storage tanks, which are shown in the yellow circles, as well as the 3 future footings for future tanks, which are shown in the orange circles. As part of these 6 new tanks, there are 2 3,500 gallon tanks, 2 10,000 gallon tanks. Both of those, or all 4 of those, stand at 19 feet and 5 inches in height. In addition, there are 2 20,000 gallon tanks, which stand at 31 feet and 2 inches. It's to note that the future footings are all capable of holding up to 20,000 gallon tanks. Those tanks will be applied for under a separate permit, and the size of them will be determined at that time. In addition, the applicant proposes a new 378 square foot canopy extension over the tanker garages. That's shown in the bottom of that plan, outlined in pink. The new refrigeration equipment will be in the existing refrigeration room, which is shown in the outline light green. In addition to the improvements in that northwest corner, the applicant is proposing a new wastewater treatment system attached to the southeast portion of the existing building. The wastewater treatment tanks will be located within a 1,219 square foot canopy, which is 26 feet tall and 26 feet and 8 inches in height, set back approximately 51 feet and 10 inches from the eastern property line, which you can see in the enlarged site plan, and approximately 70 feet from the southern property line, which is the public right-of-way Bush Place. The wastewater metal canopy on the, the wastewater metal canopy will have openings on the eastern and northern side of the canopy. The south side of the canopy will be screened from the public right-of-way on Bush Place. There are 3 wastewater tanks within the new canopy, each storing 16,500 gallons. Additional concrete paving and curbs are proposed to help secure and access the wastewater facility. The location of all the proposed equipment was thoroughly thought through and is located in the proposed locations for the following reasons. It maintains compliance with the existing fire access and circulation requirements around the site. It preserves all required parking stalls, minimizes visual impact from the public right-of-way along Bush Place, and it locates the storage and processing infrastructure in the most efficient manner for their operations. Moving on to the modification permit 1375, which is applied for to partially screen these storage tanks. The proposed location of the tanks with the additional building alcove provides visual relief from the scale of the structures, but due to the height and the location, effective and full screening is not feasible. As a result, modification permit 1375 has been requested to address this constraint. The elevations, which we will go through, show the difference in location and height of the different towers, as well as showing the screening by the existing and proposed buildings. So shown on this screen here is the northern elevation, which would be from the South Union Railroad, Pacific Railroad. And that location is shown on that yellow star there on the minor site plan to the left. Next shown is the southern elevation, showing the alcove coming off the western portion of the building, as mentioned, with that angled slope in the roof. Due to the irregular lot shape, this perspective that is shown is not visible from the public right-of-way. It would be visible from adjacent manufacturing properties, but this scale of the tanks would not be seen from Bush Place. And that line of sight, again, is shown with the yellow star in the smaller site plan there. Shown here is the western elevation, which includes the canopy extensions over the tankers shown on the right side of the screen there. And you can see the proposed tanks surrounding the alcove, as well as a new cooling tower adjacent to the existing cooling tower. And for reference, the existing building is shown at that height level in relation to the proposed tanks. Moving on to the wastewater canopy and the elevations. As mentioned, the wastewater canopy will be open on the north and east ends, but screened on the southern end to allow for efficient access to the system, as well as screen the tanks from the public right-of-way. So there on the far right, you can see the wall will be put up. It'll be painted to match the existing building with white stucco, and screened from the public right-of-way along Bush Place. Shown here is the public right-of-way line of sight along Bush Place on the other side. All tanks will be brushed with a stainless steel finish. The new alcove building and wastewater canopy will be constructed with insulated metal wall panels with a white stucco finish to match the existing building. The new cooling tower will be atop a structure with a hot dip galvanized finish. The tanks will be fully out of the line of sight from Bush Place with an existing and proposed building screening as shown on the screen. Parking. The project will modify some of the parking areas due to the addition of the new structures. Currently on site, there are 105 parking stalls. Based on the city's zoning code, the site requires 104 parking stalls. The proposed improvements will be providing 106 stalls, comprised of 75 standard stalls, 26 compact, 4 accessible, and 1 van accessible stalls, which exceeds the minimum parking requirement for the site in the building additions. Staff has made a preliminary determination that the project falls under categorical exemption section 15303, new construction of small structures, and 15311, accessory structures. The new tanks are ancillary to the site of the industrial use. No primary use or intensification of the land use is proposed. Therefore, no further environmental analysis is required. If the commission concurs, staff will file a notice of exemption with the Los Angeles City County Clerk. The project is not on the court's list, nor is identified in the EPA Environmental Hazard Database. Public noticing of the hearing was provided in compliance with state and city requirements, including posted notices, mailed notices for properties within 500 feet of the project site. To date, staff has not received any public inquiries regarding this application. The applicant has reviewed and agreed to all conditions of approval contained in Exhibit A of the draft resolution. It can be noted that there were minor revisions to the conditions of approval in relation to the structure of the fire conditions. Key findings for the proposal. The project proposes building additions that will match the existing building. The metal tanks will be brushed with a stainless steel finish determined by regulatory and safety standards. The tanks are proposed at a distance to be out of the public right-of-way, public view. Proposing alternative locations for the tanks and building alcove will present challenges with fire access to and throughout the site. Landscaping and structural coverings are not feasible due to the existing site and the configuration of the tanks. The tanks will be storing milk, which is a safe product, does not propose any safety concerns to or around the site. Based on the findings presented in the resolution, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve and adopt the notice of exemption for the site, the development plan approval, case number 1017, modification permit, case number 1375, subject to the conditions outlined in the attached resolution. Staff also recommends that the Commission adopt resolution number 313-2026. This concludes my presentation. Thank you. I'm available to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Does any member of the commission have any questions for the staff? Okay. Does any member of the commission have any questions for the applicant? Okay.
So this improvement plan sounds great, right? Upgraded equipment. Do you have anything on the removal of the old equipment as far as like containment to reduce unintended drift or runoff of hazardous material in the cooling towers, the wastewater storage, and also the ammonia diffusion tanks?
Yeah, actually, I can address that. The ammonia diffusion tank is just filled with water. It's an emergency evacuation tank. Basically, if we end up with ammonia in that tank, it's a bigger deal than having a tank there. It would be a pop-off valve or something, and the ammonia diffuses into that water. So on an ongoing basis, at any given time, there's nothing but water in that tank. The The wastewater system is fully contained, and really those tanks are just for equalization. We have different cleaning chemicals, and if with that amount of storage, they self-neutralize. So they'll just flow through those tanks and then out into the industrial waste sewer. So we'll have an industrial waste permit that'll go along with this that is approved for fire.
And then what about the refrigerant from the mechanical equipment and also like the cooling tower? Because I know cooling towers get frequent treatments, right, for like
Yeah, they do. They
scaling
have,
and all
they'll-
that?
they
That's
have,
just a lot of hazmat.
they have catch basins that go along with those, and they have to go back to the industrial waste. They can't go to the storm drain. Basically, with stormwater, currently, you can't even put water, air conditioner condensate, that can't go to the storm drain. Has to go to all to the industrial drains, so that's all addressed. Trying to think if I've missed anything.
And the cooling tower essentially is for the condensation because the refrigerant goes,
Correct,
Yeah.
right. And the current refrigeration system has been running on R22 Freon, which is kind of a super environmental pollutant. And we're converting, ammonia's becoming more in vogue again. It's the most efficient from an energy standpoint of any of the coolants, and its environmental impact is significantly less than any of the Freon-based systems that are out there. It's looking like within the next 5 years, the only two refrigerants that'll be for new systems allowed in California will be CO2, which is very inefficient, or ammonia. So
no more 410.
not for new systems, we don't believe. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
No problem.
Great. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. We will now open public comments for this item. Planning Commission Secretary, did we receive any speaking cards or written comments for this item?
We received none.
Great, thank you. If there are no further commission questions or comments, I will now close the public hearing at 6:24. May I have a motion to approve DPA case number 1017 and mod permit case number 1375 and adopt resolution number 313-2026, which incorporates the Planning Commission's findings and actions regarding this matter?
I'll move.
I'll second. Thank you. Planning Commission Secretary, could we conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Sarno, Commissioner Cervantes,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ayala,
Aye.
Chair Jimenez,
Aye.
passes 4-0.
So ordered. There's a 14-day appeal period for anyone wishing to appeal this matter. Moving on to item number 6. At this time, I will open public hearing at 6:25. And I call upon Community Development Director Quan Nugent to introduce this item.
Good evening, Chair Jimenez and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight, I have a zoning code amendment for you to address properties throughout the city that have received zoning entitlements or approvals, but remain vacant for extended periods due to either market conditions or the need to complete additional regulatory processes such as DTSC, Water Board, so forth. While these sites, are entitled for future developments, they often sit unused, creating maintenance and appearance concerns. So before you is a proposal to establish a zoning code amendment to establish a mechanism to allow a regulated interim storage of trucks, trailers, and chassis, as well as shipping containers on these properties, but through a CUP process. The intent is to more or less activate these sites in a controlled manner while preserving the long-term vision or goals of the site. So in essence, the zoning code amendment will add section 155.725, thereby establishing a CUP process as well as strict operating standards for these sites. To qualify, the site must be undeveloped, as well as also having received an approval or in the process of receiving approval for a development plan approval, DPA. The term would be limited for a maximum of 2 years, with limited extensions basically of up to an additional year, depending on the circumstances. The extensions will come before you, should that occur. In terms of operations, there will be restrictions for not allowing for washing, repairing, or habitation of either the trucks or the containers themselves. We'll have standards in place to ensure that there's the visibility and security concerns are addressed through either fencing or controlled access, as well as comply with all of the regulations of the base zones, since this will apply to not just commercial but industrial and mixed-use zones as well. In addition to the new regulatory sections, the zoning code amendment will also provide amendments to the following sections, essentially incorporating the temporary interim storage use within the use tables and adding it to the conditional use category, as well as referencing the new code section 155725, which provides for the amendments with regards to the operations itself. And just for your consideration tonight, as you make the decision on the zoning code amendment, properly screened interim uses does activate these vacant lots from our studies. They do support upkeep and help with the remediation efforts through providing means of some sorts of revenues to help the property owner offset some of the costs to remediate and upkeep the property. And with the standards in place, it will help ensure that they remain compatible with adjacent properties. Regardless, this is still through a CUP process, so it does allow you to review them on a case-by-case basis and provide necessary conditions to help protect the public health, safety, and welfare of not just the property itself, but the neighboring properties as well. And as mentioned before, there will be clear standards for screening, security operations, basically to ensure that the use is aligned with not just the zoning code, but the long-term planning goals. With that said, staff is recommending that you determine the zoning code amendment as exempt from CEQA pursuant to guideline section 15061 subsection B3. We also recommend that you find the proposed zoning code amendment consistent with the city's general plan and adopt resolution 314-2026, recommending this matter to the city council for approval of the ordinance amending the city zoning code. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments for staff?
No.
Okay, we will now open public comments for this item. Planning Commission Secretary, did we receive any speaking cards or written comments for this item?
None.
Okay, if there's no further commission questions or comments, I will now close public hearing at 6:31 p.m. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 314-2026, which incorporates the Planning Commission's findings and actions regarding this matter and recommend that the City Council approve and adopt an ordinance to effectuate the proposed amendments to the text of the city's zoning code. Could I have a motion and a second, please?
All motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Vice Chair Ayala, second by Commissioner Cervantes. Planning Commission Secretary, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Certainly. Commissioner Sarno, Commissioner Cervantes,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ayala,
Aye.
Chair Jimenez,
Aye.
passes 4-0.
So ordered. There's a 14-day appeal period for anyone wishing to appeal this matter. Okay, moving on to presentations, zoning code education series uses. I would like to call upon Assistant Director of Community Development, Vince Velasco, to present item number 7.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have another zoning code education series for you tonight. Tonight's topic is uses. So just some objectives of this presentation to go over for you to understand how uses function within the zoning code, distinguish between permitted, conditional, accessory, and prohibited uses, to clarify the Planning Commission's role in the use-related decisions, and to recognize the relationship between use regulations and the ongoing comprehensive code update. So I believe a lot of this will be repetitive and informative information for you. Hopefully you learned something new as well. So a use describes the primary activity conducted on a property or within a structure. Again, reminders of those examples: residential uses, commercial uses, industrial, civic, etc. So right now, currently in our zoning code, chapter 155 of the municipal code, the uses are listed in a list order, I should say. So if you were to go and look for a classification of a particular use, go to 155.121, for example, you find permitted, principally permitted uses. Accessory uses would follow, and then conditional uses would follow after that. So here is an example of what the existing code is structured like. You have a classification, the C1 zone, and then it lists out what types of uses are permitted by right. Currently, the mixed use section of the code, because that is the most current section of the code, has a table. And so the tentative plan right now with the comprehensive update is to use more of a modern table to identify how uses are permitted or conditionally permitted in the zoning code. So permitted uses, otherwise known by right uses, allow without discretionary review if the use itself meets the development standards. This is administrative review only. Staff confirms compliance with the dimensional and performance standards. There is no commission role in these types of uses. Accessory uses, these are incidental to principal uses. For example, home occupations, detached garages, accessory dwelling units. And so staff will go through a series of tests to determine if it's an accessory use, such as is it in the area, where in the area of the property is it located, what is the intensity, is it associated with the principal permitted use. And I know you're very familiar with conditional uses, the conditional use permit process. These are uses that may be appropriate in a district if specific criteria are satisfied. You typically have findings, right? Compatibility with surrounding uses, adequate infrastructure capacity, there's no adverse impacts, and compliance with the general plan. There's a quasi-judicial review and approval process, so staff typically will review the application materials, vet it through a completeness process, and then it is presented to you for the final decision. And then we have prohibited uses. These are uses not listed or expressly prohibited in a district. So if the use is not listed, staff will determine whether it's substantially similar to another use that is listed or determine that it is, in fact, prohibited. So the commission's role in these cases is usually an interpretation. So an applicant could come before you as a zone determination to determine that their operation is similar to another type of use, or it should be incorporated as a by right use in the zoning code. As a key element of our zoning code update process, I wanted to highlight antiquated uses that are currently in the code. So I know you've probably heard us talk about the current code being from the 1960s, right? And so operations were different than they were now. And so currently we have these types of examples in our existing zoning code. So it will reference blacksmith shops, tinsmith shops, ice manufacturing, drive-in dairy stores, 5-cent and 10-cent stores, telegraph offices, and then the amusement arcades, just pointing out the coin-operated component. And it's not to say that you don't see these businesses currently operating. They still, in some capacities, exist. They could be out there, but it's more of a rarity that you'll see a new type of operation come in for a business license. I think 99-cent store is probably the lowest in the variety cent category that I've seen recently. And the coin-operated example is more to compare it to like a Dave & Buster's, right? That's the more modern amusement game type operation where it's no longer a coin-operated base, but on a tap card, right? And so wanted to throw that in as an example of the differences and modernization of how uses need to meet our current code, right? And in the same capacity, looking at antiquated conditional uses. So most of the conditional use categories, again, were codified in the 1960s. So at that time, cities were looking at how zoning emphasized segregation of uses and the mitigation of nuisances. The industrial processes were heavy, they were land intensive, and they were emission intensive. So processes, again, have been modernized. We have automation and precise manufacturing that reduces noise and emissions. We've improved building technology and containment of those impacts. And of course, we have environmental regulations through the state, through federal government, to impose performance standards on some of those operations. So just to remind you of the zoning code update and what we're anticipating the new code to look like, what processes we're going to evaluate the existing zoning code. We're analyzing these by right uses versus what should be a conditional pathway. We're measuring those impacts and the intensities of different types of uses, right? Traffic, noise, density, height, etc. We're examining the zoning code uses with consistency of the general plan. We're consolidating and modernizing the use definitions. Again, reorganizing the uses within tables, addressing emerging land uses. Again, what are modern operations? What are up-and-coming type businesses that we should be anticipating? And again, streamlining the review process, but while maintaining the public protections. So that essentially concludes my presentation. Again, just reminding you that we do have workshop number 3 for the zoning code update process on March 18th, so a month from today, in the city's library at 6 p.m. So we hope you can join us, and I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Just in general, like I know we just did a general plan and did like a major overhaul of our zoning and how often do you guys do review and revise? Is there like a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan?
So I would say historically, there really hasn't been a set incremental update of the zoning code. It's really been a Band-Aid approach is the best way to say it. If an operation came in and they didn't meet or fit into the current code, there's a process that they would have went through to try to add them to the current code. So we've done a lot of zone code amendments to incorporate newer types of operations. Moving forward, we certainly should have a pathway to proactively update the code every so often, right? Whether it's at the end of the year.
And is it driven by like state mandates that change? Because I know like say 10 years ago, there's local jurisdictions that do pre-sale inspections and everybody had a converted garage, which is illegal. Now it's like encouraged.
Right, there's legal ramifications that would apply in specific scenarios. In that case, you know, whether it be state or federal law would overrule, right? So there's cases where it may not be listed, but there's a law that says we can't prohibit it for whatever reason, right? So there's always there always is that possibility that there's an overriding consideration, if that helps.
I have a question. Go on like with the ADUs now that the ADUs are now being allowed more. We noticed something from one of the meetings that a detached ADU has separate standards than an attached ADU. How do we go forward to have the city update those zonings so that we can make them equal for those cases like we had that incident where it was a detached?
Right. Yeah, through this process, we're certainly evaluating what the minimum requirements are from a state perspective, and then the state will allow us to exceed those standards as the local consideration. So we'll factor in all the feedback that has been presented, especially in the recent cases, and implement that into the draft.
Okay.
And the draft is anticipated to come out early summer. So at that point, public review, that will be a very critical point of this update process for all the eyes to be on what is the anticipated or the proposed language.
And so the changes for the ADU standards will be included in that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, having no further questions, I'd like to thank Assistant Director of Community Development, Vince Velasco, for the training. Thank you, Vince. Does staff have any announcements? Okay. Do any commissioners have something to report on?
None.
None? Great. This meeting is now adjourned at 6:43 PM. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is set for March 9th, 2026 at 6 PM. Thank you.